Earlier today, a parent asked me, what's the hardest part of getting ready for graduation? All the details or deciding whether to go inside or outside? The answer is neither. The hardest part is the sudden realization that you've got to give the final few words to this class on the heels of hearing two people speak such as just delivered addresses. And realize that accompanied with all the comments you heard yesterday, you now have to totally throw away what you prepared and in the next 15 seconds come up with something totally original. So here we go. Members of the school committee, parents, guests, especially the Barrington High School class of 2000. 4 years ago, the faculty and I welcomed what seemed like a very young group of freshmen into the classrooms of our high school. We still recall their nervous appearance, their insecure conversations, and their youthful exuberance. Coach McCagney prowled the hallways and wondered what mighty talents lie out in this field. Mr. Carew or Mr. Tobias pondered, is there anyone in this class who would be willing to tackle C++ or the relaxed atmosphere created by my math competitions? Mrs. Hughes and Mrs. LaParle prayed that maybe there would just be a few students who would dare to venture into their mystical musical kingdom. And Mr. Marola, he hoped that he could find a few good actors. The entire faculty anxiously wondered what types of abilities, interests, and talents will the class of 2000 hold. No sooner did you enter Barrington High School when a powerful hurricane struck that September. It had caused all of us to stop what we were doing and to respect the mighty power of nature. Today, I suspect that many of you, like myself, are really trying to ask the question, was that storm really one of nature's magnificent acts? Or was it the class of 2000 saying to us, stop and look at us, respect our power and our beauty. Do not try to calm our winds that want to blow in new directions. Allow us to carve new futures and new features into this landscape of yours. Indeed, you made your presence known quickly. Your teachers, your parents, and your community realized that a special group of students had arrived. However, I doubt that there are any among us who realized at that time that you are a class that would produce 12 students nominated to be presidential scholars, 30 students, 15% of your class, who would be recognized by the National Merit Scholarship Competition, that one student would sing at Carnegie Hall, that a number of students would get to play at the Lincoln Center for Performing Arts as one of America's outstanding high school jazz bands, and that a student in your class would organize the first anxiety screening in a high school in this country, but wouldn't let it stop there, whose goal now is to ensure that high schools across this country do it. You have such deep talent in so many areas: art, music, drafting, singing, dancing, acting, constructing, computing, analyzing, writing, speaking, investigating, marketing, and so much more. You have displayed tremendous talents during these 4 years, and you show even greater promise for the years ahead. But what is truly impressive about your class is not just these accomplishments. It's your generosity, your kindness, and your commitment to others. Sometimes we dwell so much on academic achievement that we forget about the other qualities that are so important in life. We cannot overlook your willingness to work with other students in your school who needed your help. Your excitement in sharing your music with residents of local nursing homes so that their lives could be brightened. And the enrichment you brought, and the excitement that we shared in these stands, not just when you won championships, but when we saw you honored for winning sportsmanship awards, and when you showed restraint when your opponents lost their cool. For that we commend you. Given all of these attributes, you have to question, why do so many people today struggle with trying to find a label for your generation? That's a question I've asked myself a number of times this year. Sometimes you wonder why we even need to label a generation. But the answer to that question suddenly dawned on me a few weeks ago. So I was watching a program on one of the public broadcasting systems about the landings on the beaches of Normandy. And I finally heard something that made some sense of all this. There's a view held by many that you are a generation unattached to any great cause. Historians refer to my father's generation as the greatest generation. They were the ones who fought, and many lost their lives in World War II and Korea. And when I think back about the sacrifices that my father made and so many of your fathers and your grandfathers, I can understand why today we call them the greatest generation. They are the ones, after all, who sacrificed their lives and so much of what they had so that we could be here today, struggling to find a label for your generation. My purpose today is not to identify an appropriate label for you, nor is it to debate which generation is the greatest. Above all, if people and yourselves can't find a label because it means that you are going to be living in a world that is not constantly embroiled in world wars, then my advice to you is to accept your anonymity with honor and never let that opportunity die. How ironic that 4 years ago, a hurricane ushered you into BHS. And then, 4 years later, a tornado in our auditorium whisked you away to the land of Oz and helped you to draw your 4 years to a close. Like Jessica's cowardly lion, you have found courage to accept new challenges. In Jen's beautiful voice, I think it spoke for your entire class, as you now go over your rainbows to find the futures that you have dreamed about. I encourage you to think about the talent that you have in this class, to also think about the problems that run rampant through our society and through societies throughout the world. Trust me, shortage of great causes to come attached. Do not let your accomplishments end today and lie idle here on Victory Field, on the stage, or in the corridors of our school. Use this talent to make the world a better place for all of us and for your children. Consider today's commencement not an ending but a beginning. View your relationship with your school, your alma mater, not as something that ends today, but rather as something that will evolve into a new form. In Latin, alma mater means fostering mother, and alumnus originally meant foster child. Your relationship with your family doesn't end the day you leave home. Rather, as you gain your independence, let it become centered around mutual respect, affection, and moral support. Do that, and you just might become America's greatest generation of all. Finally, I want to share one. A few days ago, a young lady walked into my office very quietly and very humbly, trying to ask me a question. She opened a bag, and out of it she took a graduation gown and said, "Would you please have your picture taken with me and present my diploma to me?" She was one of your classmates, but she could not be here today because now she has returned to her family in China. She very much wanted to be here, but it was simply not meant to be. Before leaving, she presented me with a small, very plain card, brilliant red with white ink, and a beautiful expression about what this school has meant to her. And I think she would want me to share one brief quote with you. "Tell everybody that God is so great. He gave me the good school, good teachers, and good friends." Thank you, Vivian. We are truly blessed who have good minds, promising futures. Class, and good luck.